News.
A very good evening to you with the Friday, February 16th edition of the CBC Evening News. I'm Ryan Broom. In our top story, all Barbadians deemed as criminals because of their role in the 1930s labor riots have been formally pardoned. Prime Minister Frundle Stewart says the decision was made yesterday by the Senate. The 1930s riots occurred because working-class Barbadians were forced to work under slave-like conditions, supported by the oppressive laws of the day. Speaking in the House of Assembly this morning, Mr. Stewart described the move as a great leap forward for the country.
So people like Menzies Chase and Israel Lovell and Ulrich Grant and Mortimer Skeet, all of these people who, the further we get away from the 1930s, emerge as democratic activists, their names and reputations will have been cleared, and they're no longer to be seen as criminal elements coming out of the 1930s, but as genuine forerunners, genuine harbingers of the democracy which we enjoy in Barbados today.
Just under $44 million was allocated to the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Culture during the estimates, and Minister Stephen Lashley is of the view that a greater amount of resources should be injected into the youth development program. He told the House of Assembly that the program has been a key aspect of the national youth policy and it must be made available to more young people.
Overall, some 227 community projects were designed and implemented in various communities, not the last period, but over the last 5 years. And these projects sought to respond to a number of needs, many of them community-based, but related to the strategic objectives of a number of key areas that we believe are important. Some of them included employment generation, sports development, agriculture, entrepreneurial activities, cultural activities, and HIV/AIDS prevention.
An opposition MP is accusing the government of what he calls theatrics. Parliamentary Representative for St. Michael East, Trevor Prescott, says after years of poor governance, the ruling Democratic Labour Party will attempt to trick the electorate during the upcoming elections.
That is where they can float all kinds of material things to poor people on the eve of an election, and believe in floating these things that black people so ignorant, working class black people so ignorant, you did not feed them for 10 years, but you get them a big ham, you get them a big hamper, you get them whiskey, you get them food, and you play music, and a small TV, and a laptop, and all of a sudden, you are Jesus Christ.
In other news, Finance Minister Chris Sinclair has acknowledged that there's an urgent need to address the backlog of income tax refunds for Barbadians, both in terms of the individual refunds and value-added tax refunds. He made the comment during an event hosted by the Barbados Revenue Authority to give an update on its implementation of the Tax Administration Management Information System, or TAMIS. The event was held at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Centre. Mr. Sinclair says it is especially important in the context of good and efficient tax administration, which is one of the central planks of government's Barbados Sustainable Recovery Plan.
And I believe that it is incumbent on the administration, through the Ministry of Finance and the other entities, the Cash Flow Committee, the Central Bank, and everybody, to find an appropriate and quick solution to the backlog of tax refunds that we have in Barbados, because it is affecting the integrity of the Barbados Revenue Authority as seen as a partner in the tax administration system. Because it appears, and it is a reasonable conclusion for some people to draw, that the Revenue Authority is only heard from loudly when they want money, but they are very silent when they have to pay out.
Mr. Sinclair adds that it is not fair to the taxpayer or the authority, since neither is at fault. He says the Accountant General also cannot pay out what he does not have. Despite the challenges, he says they have to find a way to break the stalemate, and he has started the ball rolling to help improve the system.
And I have therefore instructed the Ministry of Finance, working with the central bank, to put in place a system as quickly as possible to ensure that we can get the flow of refunds back to persons in Barbados. Businesses, the VAT, the corporation tax, individuals, their income tax refunds, and to do so in a responsible way that does not cause either disruption to the economy or damage to the financial system, because when things build up in that way, it's very difficult to just offload them at one time without paying attention to how such resources are expended in an economy in which, as you would have heard, is having some challenges with the foreign reserves.
Some sad news now. Barbados recorded its third road fatality for the year following an early morning accident along Oystons Road, Christchurch. Dead is 24-year-old Troy Akil Small of Goodland, Christchurch. Police say Small was a lone occupant of a motor car traveling along Oystons Road in the direction of Welch's, Christchurch, when he lost control of the vehicle sometime around 2. The car collided with a guard wall. Small died at the scene. Investigations are continuing. Well, we take a pause here, but still ahead, a renewed push to encourage more business activity at Pelican Village. Welcome back. Well, just yesterday, news emerged that consumers of fresh milk here in Barbados may soon be feeling an ease on their pockets. This after a long-anticipated cess on certain milk products is now steps closer to being implemented. Joining us live to discuss the matter tonight is Richard Cozier, the consultant and former managing director and CEO of Banks Holdings Limited. Thanks for joining us and welcome, Mr. Cozier.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
All right, get it right to it. When some Barbadians first heard about this cess on milk, most people thought that this would mean an increase or more that they would have to pull their pockets to pay for milk. But what exactly is it?
Well, I can see where they, drawn that conclusion. The cess really, and the bill that's gone to the House so far, deals with the first part of the cess program, and that is the financing of the cess. The second part, which we haven't seen yet, and which I'm not too sure when it will get to the House, but I'm told very shortly, will deal with how those funds are dispensed. And the whole idea is that it will be dispensed as an incentive to the dairy farmers to allow them to reduce the cost of the farm gate milk price to the processor, and those savings will flow through to the end consumer. So the consumer will see a drop in the price for milk once the full package is unveiled.
And what's the timeline in terms of that? When would consumers likely be able to experience
well,
that?
We're not privy yet to the effective date, but whenever that effective date is, and we believe it will be sooner rather than shorter, you will see it very shortly thereafter.
And for the farmers, I know this, well, you said this is something that they will benefit from significantly. What are they doing? How have they been preparing for this? What happens next in terms of
Well, they started actually shortly after the proposal was announced by the finance minister. In 2016, they imported over 100 cows, and those came into production towards the end of 2016, 2017. So they are already prepared themselves for the spike in sales, or the lift in sales that the cess is designed to bring.
Okay, and I know these days there seem to be a lot of different types of milk. You have soy milk, you have almond milk. Would you say that Barbadians now are generally consuming a lot of milk compared to days gone by?
I would think that they're not consuming to the extent that they consumed in years gone by. The minister, when he announced the measure in 2015, noted that sales, or the industry, had grown from a $60 million industry to from a $60 million industry to 42.5. And this element, or this cess, is one of the measures to bring it back to the 60 and beyond.
And I know that the Pine Hill Dairy had some initiatives of its own in terms of trying to encourage Barbadians to drink more milk. Is that something that's still going on, or is something that you will be
well, certainly. We're always encouraging the consumption of milk. We participate in Rural Milk Day, World School Milk Day. We do, special price banded packs, special offerings from time to time. We're always looking at opportunities to encourage consumption of milk.
And I know that you just mentioned the schools, but is that something that still happens in terms of the milk consumption at the primary school level, etc.?
Well, it still happens. We would like to see it happen more often and to a greater extent. But yes, there is a push for the school meals to use more milk.
Okay, and looking ahead now, what else do you think can be done to help the local dairy industry, to help the farmers, and to help us consumers at the end of the day get better prices in terms of milk?
Well, this is one element of it. The other element of it is you'll have to go look at the farm aspect and see, well, where are their costs growing, or where you can cushion the costs that they incur. Big cost is feed, so that might be another avenue that they may want to look at going down the road. You know, land is a scarce commodity in Barbados, so you know, to the extent that what land they have available to them, it would be another consideration.
And any indication whether renewable energy is coming into play? Are you aware whether farmers are using that more to help reduce
I think
costs?
some are. Again, it's going to come down to what they have as a priority in terms of their own business. They have scarce resources, and they need to allocate them to the best to get the best benefit that they can. From a processor perspective, we have adopted some renewable energy initiatives across our group, so you know, we're working on that as well. And
how has that worked for you so far? Are you seeing the savings that most people say that they're seeing from using the photovoltaics?
Yeah, there is a saving. We save 9 to 10% depending on, a lot of our operations are very intensive, energy intensive. So when you're saving 10%, you're saving a lot of money.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Cozier.
You're more than welcome, thank you.
Okay, we'll resume with the news now. Even with a record number of cruise passengers disembarking just a short distance away, business at Pelican Village continues to be constrained. CEO of the Barbados Investment and Development Corporation, Sandra Trotman, says her organization continues to seek out ways to encourage activity in the area. Our Shrika Griffith has more.
It appears the brightly painted buildings of the Pelican Craft Center are not helping to attract the thousands of visitors arriving at the Bridgetown port each week. Those who choose to explore Bridgetown on foot tend to walk on the beachside and in the process bypass the numerous small businesses at Pelican. The Barbados Investment and Development Corporation has responsibility for the village, and CEO Sandra Trotman says marketing of the facility continues to be a challenge.
Despite the close proximity, there are challenges even with crossing the street, and the tourists normally walk on Traverse Way. So we are frequently challenged to present activity. We cannot do it on a weekly basis because it is very expensive. What we do is encourage the tenants to do some of their own promotion, come out on the lawns, present your flyers and participate in activity that will encourage persons to come and see what you have to offer.
Ms. Trotman was speaking during an event on the lawns of Pelican, which saw the BIDC partnering with the Barbados Tourism Product Authority to promote local rum manufacturers. She says the BIDC is liaising with the country's 2 tourism authorities to market the estate as a venue for events for both visitors and Barbadians.
We are not charging large fees for the use of the facility, because if you are bringing activity, if you are bringing bodies, so that they can not only look at the products but view the facility as an ideal location to have your fairs. Some persons are using it for parties. We have an organization that's going to be using it on a monthly basis for after work limes.
Jamal Bowen, director of Top Shelf Bartending Academy, used the opportunity to get feedback from visitors and Barbadians on his 100% Bajan rum mixes.
We just wish that it was on a day where we had a few more cruise ships in, so we get a few more people in, or a lot more people in. But the response has been good, as I said before. The initiative is amazing because we're showcasing local talent, local product, and people are getting to experience things that they probably wouldn't have experienced if they didn't come to our shores.
Vendors in the Pelican Craft Center also welcome the event, which they hope will bring some much needed business their way.
Well, this type of activity that's going on here right now is a welcome addition to Pelican. This is something that we should be having more often, especially when the cruise ships are in.
This couple, Mike and Wendy, who had just gotten off a cruise ship and had just a few hours before they had to check in at the airport for their flight back to England, stopped by to sample some of the offerings.
I think it's brilliant that you haven't got to go very far and you can get off the ship and you can experience Barbados. It's lovely. I love the colours and the costumes are fantastic.
Well, it's excellent. really tasty, really nice, cooling, refreshing, and just a bit of a buzz to it.
The event was also used to promote services in the cultural industry and featured performances from popular entertainers like Blood, RPB, and Marsville. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Thanks so much, Sharika. Well, despite a record-breaking year, the Caribbean's tourism figures for 2017 pale in comparison to the success of tourism markets across the globe. It's partially because of last year's hurricane season, and now a top tourism official wants measures put in place to guard against the effects of future natural disasters.
During the Caribbean Tourism Organization's annual State of the Industry report, Acting Head of Research Ryan Skeet revealed that there were more than 30 million stayover visits last year and an estimated $37 billion in revenue across the region. But while stayover visitors increased by 4.8% in the first half, last year's hurricane season took a toll as arrivals fell by 1.7%.
These outcomes resulted in an overall increase of 1.7% to reach 30.1 million visits, marking the 8th consecutive year of growth.
However, it's considerably slower than the average growth rate across the world, shrinking the region's share of the international market. And while the CTO's Chief Executive Officer Hugh Riley is pleased with the results, he believes efforts to kickstart growth in tourism still leave a lot to be desired.
Tourism is the business that delivers foreign exchange every time a plane lands and the cruise ship docks. It reduces unemployment and delivers massive amounts of tax dollars to our national treasuries. Therefore, we should worry when we are not using this job-creating, tax-generating, foreign exchange earning machine to its full potential. We should worry when the rate of occupancy across the region is still below 70%.
In light of the blow dealt by the increase in natural disasters last year and the constant threat they pose, Mr. Riley believes adjustments must be made to improve the region's ability to bounce back.
Resources will need to be developed and realistic attention will need to be paid to the length of time it takes to rebuild an economy and to repair a brand seriously affected by natural disasters.
The persistent threat of terrorism is also said to be a major concern for prospective tourists, evident from the terrorism advisory issued for Trinidad and Tobago during Carnival celebrations. However, arrivals are expected to increase by 2 to 3% this year. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Well, February is recognized as Black History Month, and several schools across the island have been hosting programs to educate students about that continent. One of them is the Eden Lodge Primary.
Students of the Eden Lodge Primary School travel to Ghana within the walls of their classrooms. During this term, they've been studying its culture, practices, and its similarities with Barbados.
We are looking at Africa at its best, and we are focusing on Ghana. The reason we are looking at Ghana because most of the slaves came from Ghana to the Caribbean, and our culture is from Ghana.
They mounted this exhibition at the school, showcasing Ghanaian fashion, art, and food.
We're also showcasing the different types of material, mud cloth, so the children can have a greater appreciation of the different print coming from Africa. Our styles here today will be mainly from Uganda, Ghana, Senegal, and Nigeria.
This is a very rare type of work called wood burning. It's also called pyrography. And I bought some pieces today to show the students because there are not many people who are doing this type of work.
Students say they enjoyed the session, especially the chance to make and sample the country's popular ginger cinnamon drink.
Today I learned how to make the ginger cinnamon drink, and it's very tasty. I was never expecting myself to come in an exhibition and do this for Eden Lodge. Today I learned about the culture of the Africans.
Today I learned what is the most popular drink of Ghana, and I learned how they dress.
Today I learned about how Ghana got their name from, about how they dress, the music of them, the most popular drink in there.
African awareness activities will continue at the school throughout the month. On February 23rd, these students will be dressed in African clothing. Rihanna Phillips, CBC News.
Thanks, Rianne. Well, we take another break here, but still to come, a look at stories making headlines across the region. Welcome back. In Trinidad and Tobago, a 37-year-old grandmother is defending taking her grandchild into her carnival band. She was warned by police officers against jumping up in a band with her 5-month-old grandson on Carnival Monday. The woman was seen chipping behind a music truck with a toddler in a sling. The child's 23-year-old mother was also playing mass in the band. She contacted a local newspaper to respond to critics. Well, officials in Guyana will be adopting a zero-tolerance approach to lewd behavior by children during Mashramani. The festival was introduced following Guyana gaining Republican status on February 23, 1970.
This practice has been showcased many times during the parades for children, but never before has the practice been called out by officials of the Education Ministry. According to Acting Administrator of the Allied Arts Unit of the Ministry of Education, Lorraine Barker-King, in several instances it was parents who encouraged lewd behavior among children. She had this appeal for parents.
We're looking out again for all the support. We're encouraging everyone to support our children. And please, members of the public, do not encourage our children to whine. It is not a whining competition. They're there to showcase the costumes.
Meanwhile, Barker-King further noted that the parade this year will take on 3 different dimensions. She noted that the organizers this year felt that there should be a sense of uniformity. The sub-themed parade, according to the acting administrator, will feature Ghana's flora, people, emerging industries, and the various holidays celebrated throughout the year.
The nursery band, you will see, they will be portraying celebration of our people. The primary, celebration of our flora and fauna. Secondary, celebration of our industries. Other children's organizations, they'll be focusing on our festivals. And we know for sure that we get sponsorship in that area, so we make allowances for our organizations.
In Jamaica, a 3-year-old girl was shot and killed by an unknown assailant last night. Police say the girl and her stepfather were walking home when a man armed with a handgun fired a shot in their direction. After the shooting, the child was found with a gunshot wound to the chest. She was taken to hospital where she succumbed to her injuries. Well, retrenched sugar workers in Guyana want the government to reopen closed estates. For them, it's only a matter of time before their severance payment runs out. We hear more in this report from HGP TV.
I can't afford to do nothing because you have to secure it to secure yourself. People have children who go to school, they have to live in it. You can't invest it. I live in a rural area. You tell me where can I invest it? In my community right now is totally depressed. People are so frustrated. They don't know what to do. I personally frustrated. Every morning I wake up, I don't know what to do. I can't know, I just got to home, can't even watch television. Because they're frustrated, you can't invest money. I personally invest my money. I'm on in the bank. I got to keep it there to live. Up to yesterday, I went till Roses and I look for a job and I get it.
Well, simple example.
21 years working here, still 17 years feeling for money. They not afford.
No, only God could help us at this time.
The retrenched workers have expressed appreciation of the awkward position of the government in the scheme of things, but they are finding it difficult to come to grips with their calamitous situation. They are saying that things are bad, real bad, on the breadline.
I would like the government ministers, let them don't come on these fancy, let them come on a parade, walk around this village, spend some time within these areas, sit with the people, come in the community, feel the feelings that the people are feeling. Don't come on the TV or come and talk nonsense like Mr. That God want this or God want that. Come and sit with the people. Feel where it hurt most. See where it hurt most. Then you're going to realize what is going on. Well, see, when you just come and you tell me this and you tell me that and you jump in your fancy vehicle and you're gone, is that was said, out of sight, out of mind.
Some of the workers told of the implications of sudden joblessness and the adverse impact of a restricted cash flow on their domestic situation.
With mounting concern about the harvesting of conch in the Bahamas, Conservationists are moving to ensure the delicacy doesn't go extinct.
With the Bahamas' conch resources in decline, the Japanese government is giving the Bahamas National Trust a helping hand in preserving the well-loved Bahamian delicacy. Today, officials signed documents for a $500,000 grant provided through the Japan Special Fund Poverty Reduction Program that is facilitated through the Inter-American Development Bank. President of the Bahamas National Trust, Janet Johnson, says it is a crucial initiative as conch is culturally and economically important to the Bahamas.
This project provides support for 2 pilot projects in Grand Bahama that will work with fishing communities to identify diverse and alternative sources of income for conch fishers by identifying value-added conch products and new options for employment that can make use of their skills but place less pressure on the conch resource.
IDB Country Director for the Bahamas, Maria Florencia Atademo-Hurt, says the IDB believes the conservation initiative must be supported.
That is why we also believe that involvement of the communities is key. This is not just something we do, with international support and hear from NASA. We need to go and talk to the fishermen, to the people who have lived out of conch harvesting for their whole lives.
The grant is the first given to the Bahamas through the Japan Special Fund Poverty Reduction Program and the first in the Caribbean. Deputy Prime Minister the Honorable Peter Turnquest says the support is timeless.
Well, sports news is just ahead with Sean Green, but first, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Long-term alcohol use can lead to sleep disorders, liver disease, heart disease, stomach problems, and depression. Heavy drinkers can also have difficulty managing diabetes and high blood pressure. This tip is brought to you in association with the National Council on Substance Abuse, promoting drug awareness.